Welcome everyone to What a Load of Dribble podcast. We're a football podcast. I'm Sly SR. This is Boycie.
Good evening all.
I thought you were doing the agenda.
Good evening as
Do
well.
we even have an agenda?
Does
Do you know who doesn't have an agenda?
Us.
Mikel Arteta.
No, he doesn't.
Or maybe his agenda is to relegate Arsenal.
Isn't there a petition to keep him?
There is, yeah, for everyone that's not an Arsenal fan.
Excellent.
And the 2 or 3 that still think he's going to save them.
Well, the agenda today is basically we're going to look at the results from last weekend. Sadly, there is a international break. And I think next week we'll probably come back to look at, upcoming games, predictions of teams. But I think for the minute, let's focus on City Arsenal.
Brilliant, 5-0. So you watched this one avidly because I know you're very slowly watching Arsenal more than you are Chelsea.
You know what? I can't help myself. It's just mesmerising. And I have to say, just even 5-0, I don't think that tells the story. I think City could have been 8-0, 9-0, but I mean, what was it? The second goal. They just fell apart completely, and it wasn't the first time. They just done it over and over again.
Who scored the second goal?
Do you know what?
Click on it.
Get it up. Who scored the second goal?
Torres. No. Yep, Torres.
And do you know what? I have to say, just talking about Torres, he's looking a good little player. I noticed him for Spain as well in the Euros. He was fantastic. I mean, didn't carry the team through everything, but he just seemed lively.
Yeah, we've got 2 goals in this as well.
He got 2 goals, yep. He was good. But yeah, their defence was just terrible. Absolutely fell apart. The ball just kind of went through 3-4 with red shirts, and you're kind of scratching your head thinking, what are they doing? They get paid X amount of money. I mean, what's Arteta doing with them? I just don't understand.
And spent most, or what he did at one point, at this point, when they played, they'd spent the most in the league in transfers. I don't know if that's so at the end of it. So, I mean, it's baffling, isn't it? I mean,
It is.
When you look at, I mean, we'll get onto transfers later, so we'll go into more on that later. But it is strange that they're still bottom of the league. It's only 3 games.
It is.
But you spent that much money,
They should
and you've lost, and you haven't scored 1 goal.
Hang on a minute.
Unless they've scored an own goal. Have they scored an own goal?
This is their worst start since 1954.
Wow.
Yep.
Do you remember 1954?
No.
That was a cold winter.
I do not. But yeah, and you know what? A red card as well. Xhaka, man. I mean, some stat came out that's his 11th career red card. I think for club football, I believe. It was a nasty tackle. Absolutely. I mean, that was studs in. I'm not surprised man went off.
We watched the highlights very briefly before we set up for the podcast. And it was a dirty tackle. He's not exactly ingratiated himself with the fans. I mean, he wanted to leave. They've kept him. They made him captain. Signed off the contract. Made him captain, and he's been sent off against essentially the best team, the City of the Bar, at the top of the league that you aim to beat, and you get sent off, 2/3 through the first half, 10 minutes to go left in the first half. Were they already 3-0 down at that point? He got sent off at 35.
No,
2-0 down.
2-0 down at that point.
Yeah, so I mean, they could have put up a fairly decent fight if he stayed on the pitch.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
it's 3-0 half time.
You must lose not just face, but you must lose a bit of confidence when your captain gets sent off in the first half. I mean,
do you know what though? Something I did notice in the game, and I suppose it was that whole thing the other season when Liverpool won it, and it's that whole belief of it doesn't really matter what you score against us, we're going to score more goals than you.
Can I just jump in? All or nothing, because they're having that recorded. Just what you mentioned there.
Yeah.
Go, continue.
And I still believe City are suspect at the back. I do believe their whole thing is go, fly forward, score as much as you can. I just think if their back is tested and a team is defensively good enough, I kind of feel like that's where City are going to lose points over the season.
It's I mean, when you're used to seeing City smack teams.
Yes.
They get a couple of goals and they're just going to go for it. That's what they do. So it's not strange to see City beat someone 5-0 in the Premier League. It's fairly normal. 4-0, 5-0, 3-1, 3-2, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it from what I saw, I didn't watch the entire match. It looked like it fell apart a bit.
The thing is, once they tear a team apart, they tear them apart.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange one because, again, going back to the first podcast, after Brentford, they played Brentford. They obviously, Arsenal a big enough target, a big enough name that you go for, the scalp.
Yep.
And you know they're not quite the top tier that they were. And I mean, it's not good enough at all. And
it's not.
I kind of, you see it in Arteta's face.
I'm starting to feel sorry for him.
It looks like he knows that shotgun is coming.
Yeah.
He's locked in a cupboard and that shotgun is coming. Another couple of big losses. Who are Arsenal playing next?
I mean, look at the possession there, man.
20%.
That's nuts. Arsenal. I mean, this is just on BBC.
One shot.
20% possession. One shot. None on target.
I mean, in defence, someone's been sent off, they dropped 10 men and they tried to... Well, they've not parked the bus, they fucking crashed it. Because they lost 5-0. But, I mean, before that, 35 minutes, you should have more than one shot, really.
Yeah.
And City are wide open when they attack you.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what else to say about that. I was going to do some kind of joke around the goal of the season for Arsenal, but there just isn't. Whether you sort of mentioned, I don't know if there's an own goal, but I don't know, there might be an own goal along the way, but apart from that...
An Og of the season.
Og of the season.
Nice one. I mean, you mentioned, I think in the first podcast, or it might be in the second one, you mentioned Brighton, you thought they were going to do fairly well. I didn't realise, I've just seen now they've lost to Everton. Did you see that game at all?
You know what? I think I might have caught some of the highlights, and it was quite straightforward, really. I kind of thought more was going to come from Brighton, and Everton just. I just felt Everton were clinical, just.
Everton
have done their job.
Everton have got such a strong squad of players as well. Gray, Decore, Calvert-Lewin, Iwobi.
Sorry, Calvert-Lewin did score, didn't he? In that one, if I'm right. Sorry, 2 seconds.
All right.
Sly.
Your thing, bastard.
Yeah, no, he did. He got a penalty in that one. First goal weren't bad.
Free goal.
I mean, Brentford done well against Villa, 1-1. Newcastle, Southampton, 2-2. Hang on a second, wasn't Southampton kind of taking that? No.
Oh, the fizzy drinks.
It was the other way round. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's a really late penalty, isn't it? Oh, hold on. That is a really late penalty.
Yes.
St. Maximin scored 91st minute, and this is a penalty on the 96th. What a way to lose it.
Yeah.
That must be gutting. Poor old Brucey.
Callum Wilson is quite a good striker, you know.
I
do enjoy watching him play. He does. He's quite powerful. Do you know what the header he got on that? It was quite nice, actually. He kind of dropped himself. Do you know, like sometimes they fumble and try and get the ball in and just can't control it? He just dropped himself and just boom, head straight in. It was nice. It was nice to watch.
Strong neck.
He looks like a strong lad, to be honest with you.
Oh wow! So the percentage was for Southampton as well.
Leicester took a victory over Norwich.
You'd expect that to happen, wouldn't you? Really.
And just to say, Norwich are actually matching Arsenal at the bottom. Both had 9 goals conceded. I'm not sure why one's ahead of the other.
Well, I think
there must be a stat somewhere.
Goal difference. Arsenal let in 5 and they let in 4 in the other match, didn't they? Or 3 in the other match.
No, because I actually thought goal difference wise was the same. So you're telling me Norwich even got a goal?
Norwich have even got a goal. Was it Pookie?
It was a penalty. Of course it was.
Burnley.
Okay, so Arsenal are 20th, 9 against and no goals.
I mean, to be realistic, they're not going to finish 20th, are they? I mean,
I don't know.
Eventually, well, Arteta will get a sack. Whoever comes in will lift the squad. I mean, it's just how it is.
This is true.
Unfortunately, it's what happens in football. Even if
Sign
it's
the
temporary.
petition. Keep Arteta.
Yeah, keep Arteta in.
Do you know what? West Ham Palace game. I honestly thought West Ham would just storm away with that. And interesting enough, the guy who got the 2 goals for Palace, Gallagher, is a player on loan from Chelsea. But no, actually, if anything, from watching the highlights, Palace looked like they could have actually taken the game at the end as well.
I think so.
Now, I do want to focus a little bit on the late Saturday game, Liverpool-Chelsea.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Dundee versus Heart of... Well, you covered it with your finger.
Midlothian.
2-0.
I mean, do you know what? The Havertz goal was actually quite... It was a lovely loop-in header from a corner. It was just a great... I thought it was a lovely goal to watch. And I honestly thought the way the game was going... I mean, Liverpool had a very early on chance. They seemed to get, out the from the start, boom.
Just going for it.
Yeah. And
energy.
Yeah. But then that turned very quickly, and I honestly thought Chelsea throughout the game were going to start just, I don't know, walking over them. I weren't sure if Liverpool were going to get anything out of it, to be honest. And then the incident happened, and it was just like...
The incident.
Oh, man, listen.
It makes it sound like he was inappropriately touched. And
do you know what? Might as well have been. It just killed the game.
Inappropriately touched that ball.
It just killed the game. As soon as it was sent off, it just... The game was dead. But... It was definitely a red card. I can't argue against it whatsoever. He was last man. He handballed it.
It looked like his arm swung up a bit.
Everything about it. Yes, it was a red card. Yes, it was
instinct
a penalty
as well.
It was instinct as well. Definitely.
But it's definitely a red card.
Definitely. I mean, Salah penalty. It was bang straight in. Okay, no, nothing really more to sort of report on that. But I thought Liverpool should have really taken it to Chelsea and possibly got all 3 points from then on in.
Okay.
And
what did you predict the score?
I actually predicted 3-1 Chelsea.
What did I predict?
2-1 Chelsea. And even other predictions I heard was 2-1 Chelsea. I honestly thought it was going to be our day up until that red card.
I'm happy with 1-1. That suits me.
Do you know what? 1-1 for me is a victory. It's a point that probably shouldn't have been. I don't know if it's Liverpool just couldn't be clinical enough to finish, or was it just a masterclass of defence from Chelsea? Is that the grit that we're showing, that what we could produce even with 10 men at Anfield, stopping them getting another goal? Because we haven't actually conceded an open play, which is really good as well.
Interesting enough, those 4 teams that everyone's expecting to challenge, that sort of City, Chelsea, United, Liverpool, all of them on the same points, and not all of them have won their first 3 games.
Yep.
The only team that have are Spurs, which we'll come to in a minute when we go back over to the other.
Yes, we will. I mean, for me, 1-1. Yeah, I was pleased with the end result.
1 point from Anfield is not bad,
but it's just a shame of that red card in the way it was. It just the game was dead, but it had to be. There's no argument. There's nothing.
All
nothing
the
to say
action was in the
it.
first half, was it? And then it was just defend.
Yeah, basically. I mean, he got sent off at the end as well. It was right at the end of the first half, man. Never mind. It is what it is.
Another extra time penalty. That's happening a lot.
Yeah.
It's becoming a trend. Sunday.
It was pinball, can I just say? It was absolute pinball. The ball was... Don't know what to say here. I mean, Burnley Leeds.
Yeah, I mean, Burnley got a goal and then Leeds got a late one. Burnley did really well in that match. Leeds were okay. I think, let's look at the possession.
There was some crunching tackles from Burnley, I will say.
Oh yeah, Burnley were really physical.
Burnley at home. It really was.
So yeah, I mean, as you'd expect, Leeds had the bulk of possession. Both had 12 shots.
Yeah, both had a goal.
Burnley had more shots on target. That's interesting. The scorers was Wood, wasn't it? Yeah. I mean, Wood's the only person that's really going to score for Burnley. But and then Bamford, a very late goal. I watched half this match, and in the second half, Burnley were solid, but decent enough. But yeah, I felt sorry for them. 86 minutes. If they'd hung on another sort of 9-10 minutes, it probably would have won. But that's how it goes in football.
Yeah.
Spurs Watford. Did you watch this?
No.
I didn't actually.
Slightly on the highlights, caught it up, but there was nothing. Do you know what? Even the highlights, it just didn't grip me. It just felt like it was 1-0, and it just kind of stayed there. It didn't really.
Yeah,
nothing really to sort of shout about as such.
Son's really putting himself out. He's having a really good start to the season.
Dude's good, man.
Yeah, quality player.
I really, really rate him.
I thought you were touching my hand then.
Yeah, baby.
Hey baby, baby. I can't think of another song. Yeah, I mean, again, I would normally watch a Spurs game, and my dad is supports Spurs, but I didn't. I think because it was either on the same time as the United game, or it was just on an awkward time.
Yeah, he's 6 foot. He is.
He's 6 foot indeed.
He is 6 foot.
6 foot. Cool. So Wolves versus United. From a United perspective, not good enough. Wolves were really solid. I was quite impressed with Wolves' performance. Very much lacking in the clinical side, as you can imagine. They didn't score any, but there's a few times that Adama went forwards, got into the final third, and just couldn't do anything with it. As you saw, you watched the highlights with me just now.
I thought the first half, United were lucky not to be behind. I just thought.
So the match went, first 10 minutes, United completely in charge. Then it just slowly went back the other way. Yeah, 15 shots from Wolves, 10 for United. United standout players from the game were Varane. He had a really solid game. De Gea made a really important save. Well, he made a couple of really important saves. And obviously Greenwood, who got the goal, bounced just right where the keeper went to dive.
Yeah,
so it went, bounced, knocked it and went in. Very, solid performance from Wolves. You kind of feel for them a little bit, but not enough. I mean, grinding out 1-0 wins is how you climb up the table, how you win leagues. A lot of titles are built on 1-0 grinding out of results, unfortunately. It's just how it is. It didn't feel like it was deserved. It was a very boring match to watch, especially after the news that you just bought Ronaldo. You kind of expect the team to try and go forth. So it started with 4-3-3 instead of 4-2-3-1. What this game did do, and I wonder if he was trying to make a point to the board, was to show that we don't have a DM that can be a single pivot in a 4-3-3 without all sorts of calamity happening. And Calamity Fred is what he's going to be named from now on. There was one very particular moment.
Yes.
Where a Wolves player, I think they either went to clear it or they went to put it through. It went straight to Fred. There's no players near him. Instead of controlling it or stopping the ball, pushing it forwards back out into the other half, hits his shin, I think it is, or his foot, at a weird angle and goes straight out to the Wolves player,
which he should have taken
wide open.
Should have taken advantage of.
And it cut United wide open.
Yeah. And
there's 2 or 3 moments in there, disastrous first half for Fred. Just showing he's not really good enough to do that role on his own. I know McTominay's out at the moment, but he probably would be number 1 choice at the moment. Matic could drop in there as well, but it's we need a defensive. The one weakness that United have is that if you high press United and they've only got a single pivot, even when they've got a double pivot going on in midfield, 4-2-3-1 or whether it's 4-3-3, they're going to struggle to get the ball from defence to attack. Now, adding Varane means you've got someone that can spray the balls really well, but you can only do that if players are making a run, which just wasn't happening often enough.
I mean, Matic is going to be a bit more of a squad player now. His legs are going, man. He hasn't got that.
Yeah, definitely. And he's playing. There's a behind closed door game going on tonight, and he's playing in that, I think.
Okay.
That was the last game for Dan James as well. Just note that down. Dan James.
Who's he gone to?
He's gone to Leeds.
Oh, okay.
Who we pinched.
Yeah.
We came in last minute and got him for 15 million, I think, 2 years ago. And we just sold him to Leeds for 30, I think, or 28 million, something like that. And he's done his job. He's been a good squad player. Yep. He played well in that match, didn't play badly. Martial came on and performed a lot better than we've seen from him, but didn't get a goal, as you can tell. So he's slowly falling down the pecking order. I mean, Cavani, Greenwood, Rashford's injured, but I mean, and now Ronaldo. James is gone. The next one out the door is probably Martial. So yeah, overall, got the win, got the 3 points. Needed, because we drew one of our games, which wasn't good enough either. So a little bit of a patchy start from United. Transfers.
Now, I have to be honest with you, I didn't know too much about, is it Saul Niguez?
Saul Niguez. Quality player. So he's someone that's been on United's radar for a long time.
I mean, what's he? Spain international, right? Mm-hmm. 26 years old.
Yeah.
He seems like the real backbone of a team, sort of
Yeah.
like in that midfield, the spine of it as such. I can't say he's the biggest goal scorer from what I've seen from his stats.
That's not the kind of player.
No,
he is.
he's not.
No.
But he's that person that gets the ball going. Again, quick feet will get that ball moving forward. I think can defend as well. Big lad as well.
You know that player I said that United needed and it was our weakness?
This is the one.
That's one of
Was you not going for him as well?
Yeah, I think what happened is Ronaldo became available. So obviously he was offered to... I think at the start of the transfer window, Juventus offered him to United. United said no.
Yep.
And it got to a point where he's obviously leaving. They're offering it to everyone under the sun. At some point, City got involved. And then as soon as we found out City was getting involved, everyone, Rio Ferdinand, Solskjaer, I think some of the others in the background, and Alex Ferguson, of course, were like, no, you don't go and play for City when you play for... You're not a United legend and then you go and play for City. This is not how it is. And there's a press conference that Solskjaer did, and they kept pressing him. And I think it was about 30 hours or 24 hours before they announced Ronaldo, and he clearly knew that Ronaldo was coming to United, even though everyone in the press was saying he's about to sign for City.
Right.
And on the third press, he's like, you don't sign for City if you play for United.
But you still not got your midfield.
And then, no. And I think that's what's happened. I think we were looking at Neves. I think Sal Niguez was first choice, but I think it was a bit too expensive. Chelsea have been very clever because they got him on loan with the option to buy, I think. Neves was the other person we're looking at. Neves is more like Carrick than sort of your destroyer Kante type of number 6. Camavinga, who went off to Real Madrid, I think, I think he's about 19.
Okay.
And you could make him into anything midfielder.
Okay.
Sal Niguez is a number 8 come number 6, if that makes sense. So he's a little bit more of a box to box than Neves is. Neves is probably more of a fixed number 6. But
that's what I gathered from him. Just from what I kind of read up and looked up, that's kind of what the player he seemed to have like helped Atletico Madrid to the title. He seemed to have really helped them just plod along and kind of get results and make their way.
He's a quality player.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm more jealous about that than any other player that Chelsea bought this transfer with, and they bought good players.
Because I know Kurt Zuma's gone off to West Ham, right? Mm-hmm. Which, do you know what? Great player for West Ham. Do you know what I mean? Bolstered their defence up. And there was some critique regarding our defence and losing Kurt Zuma, and we haven't got another defender in. But I kind of feel like we have enough defence, and then with the midfield to back it, because we're only playing 3 at the back at the moment, and I feel like we've got defence to cover that 3 at the back. We've got plenty of players. Even with this chap, that's another one that will go into a central position, which will allow the pacier players to kind of go wide. And I feel like even some of the forward players can come back. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like we've got a lot of versatility within Chelsea that they can just, we've got positions for positions for positions.
I mean, arguably...
The depth is just there.
Yeah, that's the thing. Arguably, Chelsea have as much depth as City. Okay, City, you could argue, have got almost 2 first teams, but Chelsea as a squad have got such a strong squad. You've got good, solid 16, 17 players there you can count on, and a few more at the back to come in the wings. Yeah. And adding Niguez to Lukaku, I mean, it's just fantastic. I mean, for a lot of the teams, the big teams, fantastic windows.
Yeah.
Chelsea have had a good window. United have had a good window. City, I mean, they've been rejected by 3 big players. But they have brought Grealish in. And he's good on your salad, isn't he? You mentioned this before, Grealish.
Good on a burger.
He's good on your burger.
Good on a burger. Spurs got Emerson.
They did. Spurs have been actually quite astute.
Yeah.
But also Lookman going to Leicester. Lookman's a quality player.
Again, Leicester they're buying clever again. That's what they do.
So at Everton.
Yep.
Rondon as well.
Now, do you know what? I was with a couple of lads. I was with a couple of lads the other day, and I've got a bit. Do you want
to save that for when the camera's switched off? You were with a couple of lads the other day.
Now, you mentioned him first. I'm not going to take this thunder away from you. You talk about him first.
Okay, so Tom Heaton has signed again for United. He's come back. He's our 3rd choice keeper. He played for Burnley for a stint. He's played for some of the smaller teams, but he's back at United. No, I mean it's. We touched on it earlier. Ronaldo being back at United, you jump at that chance. Ronaldo's ready to come back, comes back in. I mean that's 25 goals right there. Easily 25 goals in the season. That's what we've also been missing.
Let me just stop it here for 1 second, right? Do you know what? In every generation, you'll get some kind of great within some sports.
Isn't that the start of Buffy the Vampire Slayer? In every generation.
Could be.
Becomes a person, a special person.
Do you know what? In our generation, we got
funny
two.
With my accent there.
You've kind of got these two players up the top. Then you've got this massive other players below them. Tom Heaton.
Yeah, Pickford, Heaton.
And then many others. Now, Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi.
Lionel Richie.
Singer? I nearly broke out in a song, but I couldn't
I think you
think of the
said
words.
Blair as well, that's worse.
But for me, I believe Cristiano Ronaldo is potentially the greatest player of all time. I just believe what he brings to the game. I understand that Messi
and the money and prestige he brings to the
genius.
league.
Do you know what? Messi is an absolute genius for his size, what he can do, his ability. And you know what? There's a couple of guys I was chatting with. There was that bit of argument nearly going on. It was like we had to agree to disagree because they were definitely pro Messi and I was pro Ronaldo. If I had a position left in a team and the choices were Messi or Ronaldo, I personally would have to go with Ronaldo purely because of the work rate, the power, the height. There's a whole lot of things the goal rate. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. The goal ratio.
Ronaldo does look a bit like a wrestler himself.
The goal ratio as well on top of that.
Okay, it comes down to two very specific things, doesn't it? Ronaldo has done it in several places.
Right, this is the other thing. Yes.
Several different leagues.
Yes.
Messi's done it in one place, and what he's done now is he's gone to the biggest team in the smallest league. So he's the biggest fish in the smallest pond.
Yes.
PSG have bought the Champions League with what they've done this summer. It's insane. I mean, we're talking about big clubs having great transfer windows.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
That's what they've done. Now, Messi is quality and definitely up there, but Cristiano Ronaldo's he did it when he was younger. He won Ballon d'Or.
Firstly, Premiership, toughest league in the world. I'm sorry, Premiership, toughest league. Spanish, a little bit flimsy-flamsy. Italian's not
Well, when
bad.
he was there, it was Ronaldo versus Messi, wasn't it? It was Barcelona versus Madrid at their peak.
Italian league is not terribly flimsy-flamsy. I think they're not.
It is a bit slower.
It is a bit slower. But, I mean, when you kind of think in other leagues, that could be like the Premiership, possibly the German.
And when you put it into perspective, the amount of goals that he and Lukaku scored in the Italian league, outscored Lukaku. But those two players coming into the Premier League says a hell of a lot. I mean, just the draw of the Premier League now is insane. I mean, I think I mentioned it at the last podcast. You look at Spain, there's still some interest there. I mean, Atletico are doing really well. But you look at the Premier League now and the way that it's stacked up with the four big teams going for it.
There was another stat I saw on Ronaldo the other day and I thought, oh man. Okay. For Juventus, from 2018 to 2021, he had 98 appearances and he scored 81 goals.
I think there's a stat for his overall...
Hang on a minute. Let's go back to Real Madrid. From 2009 to 2018, he had 292 appearances and 311 goals.
He did indeed. So let's touch on the other argument that people have for Ronaldo now.
There is a but here. I'll see what you're going to say and I'll come back to it.
So the critic, especially the City critics, are all of a sudden kissing his feet that are now turning around and saying he's too old. Yes, it's not the same player at Left United. The player at Left United was a winger, come attacker, made his name at United, went to Real Madrid. That was his dream, as a lot of people are. Now he's older, he's become a solid number 9, a centre forward. So his game has changed.
Even poaches a lot of goals.
He's 38, but he plays more like a 30, 31-year-old, I would say. People go a bit too far and say, he plays like he's
36.
Yeah. People say, oh, he plays like he's 28. He doesn't play like he's 28. He plays like he's in his 30s. But he doesn't play like he's 38. We've seen players.
He's 36.
Yeah. What did I say? I thought I said 36.
No, he's a 38 a number of times.
Did I?
Yeah. Definitely 36.
That's because I was about to say the whole thing in comparison to it. So he's 36. And a lot of people are saying, look, he's too old, he's not going to do too much in the Premier League, he's not the player, blah, blah, blah. All that crap aside, like I mentioned earlier on, he's 25 goals minimum in the league.
It's not that it's too old, it's just a tougher league. It's not going to be easy to score, I reckon, as in what he's had in the other leagues.
Yeah, but look at the amount of goals that United have been scoring over the last year. The way that Ollie set them up and the attacking play that they have. Yeah. What you will see is Bruno Fernandes's goals come down and Ronaldo's go up. Yeah. And it's not just because he'll be taking the penalties, but you'll see that a lot more. There'll be a lot more playing through Ronaldo. What you might see,
he's still got his free kicks,
is when Ronaldo's not playing and Cavani's not around, is the team really struggling. That's what you'll see. And there's going to be periods of time where Cavani's not available this season due to all the international crap that's going on. He wants to play for Uruguay, and then he's got to. Anyway, that's
do you know when Beckham went to Real Madrid and pretty much single-handedly supported that team to win the league and win whatever they won that year? And seriously, he really done.
Well, Ronaldo was there as well, wasn't he? But the R9.
But what I'm trying to say is what Beckham done for that team. You know, the fact that he could put that ball in a 50 pence from X amount of yards away and blah blah blah. And I kind of feel like Ronaldo's going to be almost that similar thing coming to United again. You know, that player that just gives that something. I mean, if he gets injured, you know, that's going to be a blow immediately.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
But he'd also be a squad player.
It's more of a blow if Ronaldo's injured and Cavani's out and Rashford isn't back. We're in trouble.
I do like Cavani, you know.
Yeah. Oh, Cavani's class.
He's just is he Chilean?
No, he's Argentinian.
No,
he's not. He's from Uruguay.
Thank you.
He's from Uruguay.
I knew he was Argentinian.
I'm thinking of the other one. If Ronaldo's injured and Cavani get injured and Rashford's still out, we're in a little bit of trouble because you're looking at Martial, Greenwood and Sancho, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I don't know if anyone's been looking at Sancho at the moment. He's not quite got his feet. I think Ronaldo coming in takes the distraction away from... I mean, Ronaldo was only, 25 million after add-ons and whatnot. And Sancho being as much as he was when he came in, 70-something million. He's not been playing so well, and I think actually that might boost his confidence because the eye's all on Ronaldo. And Ronaldo's used to being the centre of attention, so I don't think that's going to bother him so much. You've also got, of course, Fernandes and Ronaldo in the same team together, and they both play for Portugal, which is a plus. But the same old story with United. I think what we were saying before is Chelsea and City are the two teams that were challenging for the title. I think United getting Ronaldo means they have to fully challenge for that title. I still feel like it will still be between Chelsea and City. United have to win something or Solskjaer gets sacked. There's no two ways about it. Solskjaer is brilliant. He's a perfect fit. Unless he gets to the final of the Champions League or something, which I can't see happening. Has to win silverware this year. It's United. There's no two ways about it. You can't turn around and say what we did before. We've only got Fred and Delo. We've only got Dan James and Wan-Bissaka. You've got Sancho, Varane, one of the best defenders in the world. He's fit in straight away. Tom Heaton. Silence.
Good old Tom Heaton.
And I had to throw that in there. And Ronaldo. I mean, you don't get Sancho, Ronaldo and Varane and don't win anything because that's just how it is. You're at United. You'll probably get away with it if you're at Spurs or if you're at Liverpool for so long or somewhere like that. But not United. Are you looking at Tom Heaton?
I'm looking up Tom Heaton.
He's been around a bit, hasn't he?
God blimey. He really is. United loan to Swindon, loan to Royal Antwerp, Cardiff loan, QPR loan, Rochdale loan, Wickham loan, then to Cardiff, then to Bristol, then to Burnley, then to Villa. So do you know what? You've mentioned him a few times. I had to look him up.
I'm surprised you don't know the name. He's been around so much.
In fairness, everyone should know Tom Heaton.
He's never been United's number one, and he's always been around the teams that are in sort of between 20th and 12th, I guess. But he was in the team when Burnley finished 7th. You know when they finished really high, no one expected them. So he was a quality keeper. Let's not forget he's third choice. It's going to be De Gea and Henderson when he finishes coming back from recovering from COVID, and then Heat 1, as someone famously said, Tom Heaton.
Yeah. Do you know what? If United did win some silverware this year,
Are you saying Heaton makes the difference?
I think Tom Heaton is going to be the romance in the story. No, seriously though. I kind of feel like, could you imagine Ronaldo coming back to United after all this time?
I can imagine.
And they win some silverware. Premiership, I'm talking Champions League. Or even Europa once you get knocked out of the Champions League.
Yeah,
Either way.
League Cup or FA Cup. I mean, we're not talking rocket science here. There needs to be some sort of silverware.
If it can be something.
So, I mean, definitely, I think what I would like to see is any of the cups. It doesn't bother me too much. There needs to be some sort of silverware. Needs to make up for losing the Europa final. It's just how it is at United. When it comes down to that last home game against Chelsea, I want that. For me, I want that to be neck and neck. Does that make sense?
No,
so
I
if
get that
game, whoever wins, it could be whether it's Chelsea United for first or second or whatever. I'd love that game. Once you clip me up when United finish 5th and win the League Cup or something annoying or losing the final of the League Cup.
What you're saying there would make definitely good
romance,
viewing.
an extension of the romance.
Yes, definitely.
Romance me.
Admittedly, I'd rather forget the twitchy bum time and think that Chelsea have won the season by this point, and this is we're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
And we're going to beat United 4-1 just to kind of really seal it off. That's what would be. But that's almost too easy.
4-1 at Old Trafford.
Hey,
is that what you're saying?
Listen.
Well, if they pull a Xhaka,
I swear it happened before.
If they pull a Xhaka and Maguire gets sent off, then you might have a chance for a 4-1. No, yeah, I mean, it feeds into the romanticism of it. I mean, even a little bit with Lukaku. I mean, you don't. It's on a different scale, but Lukaku is a goal scorer. He's coming in. He's scoring. He's improved since he left Chelsea, and all the places he's gone to, he's scored goals.
And he kind of started.
He's a goal machine.
It's
exactly.
It's a similar. Not quite the Ronaldo storyline, but it's similar. Yeah. It's similar.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, there's so much to look forward to. Yeah, I mean,
sorry, I'm just a bit fed up of seeing Tom Heaton.
Yeah,
there we go.
It's because you're worried. He's finally going to get that one goal against.
You know what? They're going to bring Tom Heaton out at a shootout or something against, Chelsea United, and he's going to save the penalties, and it's going to be like, no, Tom Heaton.
I mean, you've sold decently.
I know Chelsea.
Do you know who we haven't spoken about? We need to speak about. I know we speak about it every single podcast.
Go on.
Arsenal's transfers. So Arsenal are 20th, as we said.
Yeah.
We're not going to rub it in.
2 words for you.
But at the point, I think I made the point earlier, I'm not sure if they spent the most money overall now on the Premiership on players and transfers, but at one point they were, and they're definitely up there in the top 2 or 3. We'd have to look it up. But they brought so many players in, and instead of improving their first team, they've made some very odd decisions. So they're improving their first team. It's almost like they brought back up for certain positions. They previously sold Martinez, not this transfer window, I think it was before. I think they sold him for 20 million. I could be wrong, I'm sure someone will make some comment. But then they bought Ramsdale as a backup keeper for 30 million.
Yes.
That was a strange one.
Yes.
Out of all of them, because I can see why you would buy the other players. They're young, upcoming players. As good as he is as a keeper, 30 million on your second choice keeper.
God, you could have bought some young players just to come through or do something with.
It's really strange. I mean, considering they could have got Heaton.
They could have got Heaton.
For free.
Do you know what I mean?
In fairness, he's not your second choice, he's your third choice. But
is Friedel still available?
Brad Friedel. Oh, maybe. He might be playing in some lower division somewhere.
He is quality though, you know.
Or in America where the league's not so good.
He is quality.
That's the strangest one for me. Okay, you can give an argument for all the other ones, apart from paying 50 million for Ben White. They clearly played. Yeah, I mean that's tax for being a British player in the Premier League. I think I feel sorry for Ben White. There's a hell of a lot of pressure on him, and I'm not entirely convinced by him. I think he's got a lot to learn.
I just don't know if they've done anything. They've spent a lot of money, but I
They
don't know
spent a hell of a lot of
I don't know
money.
if they've done anything that's going to be worth anything. But
Here we go, yeah. So Ben White's the obvious one. That's the first one we've got. Odegaard is a good player. So he was loaned from Real Madrid. Now they bought him off of Real Madrid. 31 million for Odegaard. I think that's all right. He's a good enough player. But then you go, the money you
Ramsdale.
spent on Ramsdale is, I mean, I'm sorry, that is ridiculous. I mean, I know when you look at the big money for goalkeepers, that's your first choice goalkeeper. 25 million is not a lot of money, but it's a lot of money for a backup keeper. Lokonga, I like the look of Lokonga. I've watched him in the last game or so.
Very young players as well. It's not like there's not like a lot of experience coming.
Yeah,
into the
definitely.
team as such.
Yeah, I think Arteta's whole approach was he was buying young players.
Oh God, but that's where Lampard started going down the route of bringing all his young players through, and bye bye.
Yeah, but then
It's a shame,
Lampard
it's a
also
shame.
had established Premier League players in his team
He
as well.
did, he
Arsenal
did.
don't really,
No, they
not in the
don't.
same ilk. I mean, the point you're making. Okay, so Ben White, they needed a centre back. They got Ben White. Okay, that's one position they filled. They needed to fill, regardless if I felt like it was
3
not money
games and they've scored no goals. Where's the striker? I'm sorry, but where's
Just to answer that, Aubameyang's signed a contract recently, hasn't he?
where's the striker?
It's not performing, that's for sure.
It's because he needs competition. If he's not performing, where's that person that's going to come in and make him fight for his place?
Definitely. So the point I was making,
Sorry.
they got centre back. They needed centre back. They got an attacking midfielder. Okay, you could argue they need an attacking midfielder. Cool, but then they also, like you were saying just now, have bought another central midfielder in Lokonga. Lokonga is probably a little bit further back than Odegaard, but Odegaard's more of a further forward attacking player. And they bought in another centre back. They do need centre backs, but again, young, inexperienced. So what you want, you bring Ben White in. Who do you want next to Ben White? You want a big, experienced player because he can take Ben White under his wing.
26, 28, played in the Premiership.
Even if
or
they're
at least
32, central defender.
Yeah, but I'm just going as the kind of like the younger ages as such, not sort of 22, 21, sort of a little bit more than that. Actually, 32 would even be much better. Just like we got Silva.
Who have Arsenal got a left back? Tierney.
Okay.
Yeah, so they brought in a left back, Tavares. Okay, you need a backup, but they spent so much money on players that are not just young. Fair enough, that's what Arteta is going for. That's the whole thing, is they're meant to be young, but they're so young and inexperienced. They're not scoring a goal. But I think again, you get another manager in, shuffles it around a bit, and it might make players like Aubameyang, Lacazette, your older players, Xhaka, come in and go, right, new manager, it looks like there's some sort of grating. I don't know enough about the internals of Arsenal. What I'm pretty sure of, that All or Nothing documentary that's going on was a bad idea because they're being watched, and they're being watched at a time where they're not doing very well. But again, I don't think Arsenal are going to be relegated. I think this is only the start of the season. Arteta's...
But it would be hilarious.
It would be hilarious. Arteta's got a target on his head, surely. 1 or 2 more big losses, you're gone. You spend that much money, I'm sorry, I mean... I feel sorry for him.
They really do have it. This is their full
Yeah,
squad.
I mean,
They really do have an aging forward, and it's kind of like...
What I will say is Pepe's... I've seen so much from Pepe, and it's like, wow, Pepe's quality. Aubameyang, he's got that whole thing that we're saying about Matic. He looks like his legs are going. So he's got that goal-scoring ability, but he's not the Aubameyang they bought from Borussia Dortmund. He's not the one that could go flying around.
No, I hear that.
You've got Martinelli who's come in. Martinelli is a really good... that is one to bring up, actually. Martinelli's Italian, isn't he? He's really good striker. Again, young, but quality.
I don't know why I'm focusing on Arsenal so much for that.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about transfers. The amount of money that they've spent. They're in last place. Their manager's in trouble.
If they lose the next game to Norwich... I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that's a nail in a coffin game, isn't it?
It is.
That is a nail in a coffin.
It is.
I know it sounds ridiculous, but you're at the bottom of the table. Norwich are at the bottom of the table. If Norwich win that 1-0,
Yeah.
That is the beginning of the end. I mean, the beginning of the end could have been Brentford. We might look back and go, that was the beginning of the end for Arteta. The problem is, I think if they scrape through Norwich and Burnley, they're going to lose to Spurs. You don't lose to you lose to your biggest rival, you're gone. In this situation, I mean, it's different if they'd been, they've beaten Spurs a few times. They've beaten Spurs a few times over the last few years. But where they are, the money they've spent, the way they're playing, a large majority of the fans who were backing Arteta, surprisingly, are starting to move towards the other direction now.
If it's that unfortunate and they lose against Norwich, they could go on a serious streak here of losses. Away to Burnley after that, then they got Spurs. Away to Brighton.
This is the thing. If you can't score,
that momentum could go.
If you can't score against Brentford, Chelsea, City, and Norwich, you're not scoring against Burnley. Burnley are one of the toughest teams in the league to score against. It's physically difficult. One thing that Arsenal definitely are at the moment is not physical.
Liverpool haven't bought well. They haven't done much business.
No, Klopp. I wonder if watch Klopp. Watch him in interviews and watch him on the sideline when you get to watch him. At the moment, he doesn't look happy, and I wonder if that's because he's been told we're not getting lots of... I mean, they got Konate in, good defender. So actually, that is a good buy. But I have a feeling he wanted more than that. I don't know whether he wanted a striker or he wanted...
Well, it's about constantly building, isn't it?
It is.
You're there, now we got to keep...
Well, this is the thing. They got leapfrogged last year, and they were the champions the year before that. So they were nowhere near retaining it last year.
Yeah.
Their biggest rivals in Manchester United have bought Sancho, Varane, and Ronaldo, and Tom Heaton. Chelsea have bought Lukaku. They've got Sal Niguez. They bought some other players in. City have bought Grealish. All of those big teams around them.
I will say this about City though. I kind of feel like they could have probably done with an up-front.
Definitely.
I feel like they've missed a trick.
But they've also proven that they don't need a striker, and they won it without a striker.
Yeah, true.
So what it feels like, City are the bar. They're always the team to beat, regardless of.
I think Chelsea have met that bar.
I agree with you. The point I was making is. Okay, they got Grealish. They've lost a couple of players. They got Grealish in.
Yeah,
they're still at that level.
Fantastic.
They're still at that level.
Yeah.
Which is, I would say they're the best team in England.
Yeah.
I think that's fair enough.
Yeah. Still dangerous.
They're still that level.
Yeah.
They've not gone down. They've not gone up with what they've added.
Yeah.
Necessarily. Chelsea have stepped up to that level. It feels like.
It
feels like United are right behind them, breathing down their necks.
Yeah.
And it feels like Liverpool 2 steps below that.
Yeah.
And Liverpool, no one is watching or expecting Liverpool to win. So there is not pressure on Liverpool to win it. So, I mean, there could be a sneak attack from Liverpool. I don't feel like there will be. But it wouldn't be the first time when we've had really powerful 2 or 3 people in it at the start of the season. And then all of a sudden there's an upset. So it's quite possible. I mean, it could be another one of those where a few players get injured and there's always some spontaneously weird results in the seasons, and City could just walk away with it again.
Spurs aren't going to last.
It's catching up those points.
Spurs will not last.
No, they won't. Well, they're not going to finish first. We know that.
Well, we think.
Well, and you wouldn't expect.
I'd like to.
It's not a
take
fair.
An educated guess.
It's not a fair expectation on Nuno, is it? To say we think he's going to finish first. He's taken over a team that were competing for top 4. If he's competing for top 4, gets in top 4, he's ticked that box. It's his first season in charge. Even if he finishes 6th and does 31 in the cups, it's your first season as manager. It's different to taking over City or taking over Chelsea or United. It's a completely different expectation.
So I think that's about it for this week. Please check us out on Twitter. It's what a load of DRI.
I'm at Sly LSR, SLYELESSAR on Twitter.
And like always, check me out on Boycie's Bricks and Bits if you want to see some Lego and connectables. So apart from that, I'm going to say have a nice day.
Have a good one.